Part 42. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 411. Chapter 411. The third master is hurting you. Wait, Lu Ziwen chuckled and said, I will definitely do what you want, but Xiaosai, what if the condition is that you are not allowed to be the master of the extreme? Kill Pei Chuiying and you will replace him. What if I don't want to? As long as I don't kill Pei Chuiying, that position is mine. Gu Xi said that she only entrusted Lu Ziwen with the things that the Jidao Dark Network could do out of selfish motives. Being a doctor, isn't it good to save lives and heal the wounded? There is no one I want to save. Gu Xi deliberately contradicted Lu Ziwen. Studying medicine can't save the inner demons, and it can't save me. Can you save me if you are the master of the extreme realm? I'm happy, Gu Xi said. Why don't you want me to sit in that position? Is it because of the danger, or is it because your cooperation with your brother is not sincere and you don't want me to get involved? I have many reasons to object to you becoming the master of the extreme. I also have many reasons why I have to sit on it. Gu Xi frowned and said, we talked about it on the mountain that day and we reached a consensus, didn't we? Lu Ziwen looked at her silently, and Gu Xi understood what Lu Ziwen was thinking. She said softly, when will you understand that your thoughts are not my wishes? Lu Ziwen thought to himself, in fact, he has always understood. Gu Xi leaned against the flower vines and asked with a chuckle, Ji Sun is so dedicated to his brother and is willing to sacrifice everything. If it goes as he wishes, wouldn't it be a good thing for Black Eagle and Jida to shake hands and make peace? Lu Ziwen laughed, go and ask Zhang Junlin if he is willing. What if he is willing to compromise for Ji Sun? He won't, Lu Ziwen said categorically, the interests involved in Black Eagle and Jidao are too complicated. Now that our identities have been exposed, killing each other is our best choice. If we get involved, Ji Sun will go to jail. Hit list. Gu Xi also understood who was on the assassination list. She was shocked. She didn't expect it to be so serious. In order to ensure Zhang Junlin's loyalty, they would not allow Ji Sun's existence. Zhang Junlin knew it from the moment he fell in love with Ji Sun. He is restrained, forbearing, and sees the outcome clearly. If his identity is not exposed, there is still room for change. But after his identity is exposed, his every move will be involved a lot, and he must be cautious about his marriage. The secret guards who had followed him for many years would rebel collectively because of Ji Sun. Zhang Junlin understands, and so does Lu Ziwen. Only Ji Sun has a glimmer of hope. He is young, high-spirited, and confident. He feels that he can evade open and secret arrows and assassinations. Can you escape the first day of the Lunar New Year or the 15th day of the Lunar New Year? Ji Sun also understood what Zhang Junlin meant. A word of apology was the end that Zhang Junlin had brought to an end for them. As expected by Ji Sun remembered what Zhang Junlin said in response to him that night. Me too. His heart was not willing to surge, but he had no choice but to say, you have been ready to separate for a long time. What did you mean last night? Pity me. Zhang Junlin could no longer bear to see Ji Sun looking down on himself so much. Xiao Sun, just treat it as a dream. Meeting me is your nightmare. In a few years, you will forget it? Okay. Ji Xian's voice was trembling, unable to express his grievances and unwillingness. Okay, we will have nothing to do with each other in the future. Do you want to hear this? If you dream, I tell you, if you fall in love with someone else, you just wait to collect his body. After saying the harsh words, Ji Sun turned around and left. If he didn't leave, he could no longer bear Zhang Junlin's cold yet firm gaze. He knew that the harsh words made him look harsh, but he didn't know what to do. After such a long dream, I finally woke up. From the very beginning, he should have known that this was a dream. When he first met Wu Jiazhu, he was stunned at first sight, and in exchange for several years of obsession, He earned it. After waking up from the dream, it's time for people to leave. Ji-sun was leaning against the flower wall. The sunlight fell on him, but it could not warm his cold white face. Rong Li clicked his tongue, "Do you want to smoke?" "Rong Li, have you ever broken up?" "Excuse me," Rong Li said calmly, lit the cigarette with a lighter, and puffed out smoke. "Before the Rong family was defeated, I was the little bully. All the girls in the school liked me. In 3 years of high school, I had 11 girlfriends. Huan Fei Yanchao, all types are there, it's just the same thing." "You've actually been in love?" Ji-sun opened his eyes in surprise. "Are you lying to me?" "I'm 27 this year, what's so strange about falling in love?" Rong Li said irritably. "What kind of vision are you looking at, where are you looking at?" Ji Xian looked away from his lower body. "I thought you were young." "Ah," Rong Li kicked him over, "get out." Ji Huan's sad mood has faded a bit. If he broke up with Zhang Junlin before imprisoning him, he would not agree to anything, and he might go crazy and drag Zhang Junlin to death together. Now, apart from going crazy, he must accept it all. "Are you sad when we break up?" "You're so sad," Rong Li thought of his middle school days. "Today we are divided, and tomorrow there will be more little girls lining up, so there is no time to be sad." "Ji-sun, why am I so sad?" "Because you are a bitch. I have never seen a licking dog like you. When Zhang Junlin waves, you wag your tail. Did you get kicked by others when you first fell in love?" Ji-sun couldn't bear it. He was sad, and Rong Li complained like this. It was really intolerable. These words inexplicably touched Rong Li's pitiful self-esteem. "When I was in love back then, girls were the licking dogs. If you were half as smart as I was, you wouldn't have ended up like this." Ji-sun felt that Rong Li's words were very convincing. "I don't believe it." There was an information officer at Black Hawk who pursued Rong Li. The girl was beautiful and independent-minded. She had many suitors, but she pursued Rong Li. However, after working together for 7 days, the girl took the initiative to apply for transfer. A month after being transferred away, Rong Li asked Ji-sun belatedly, "Why didn't she pursue me?" The most outrageous thing is that when we met a year later, he didn't even remember their names. He doesn't believe that a man like this can have a girl as a licker. Ji-sun's despair and sadness were so disturbed by Rong Li, and his mood miraculously improved. Lu Ziwen came to them and asked, "What are you doing?" He broke up and cried bitterly, and I was comforting him. Ji Huan was angry. "Who is crying bitterly?" "You," Rong Li said. "You still raised your head 45 degrees and pretended to be sad and bright. I was worried that you couldn't figure it out and drag Zhang Junlin to die together. Get out, I'll drag you to death together first." "Thank you for the invitation, I'm not interested." Lu Ziwen glanced at Ji Xian and said, "Go back, half of the terms have not been negotiated, can you do that?" Ji Sun calmed down his emotions and said, "Okay." Rong Li clapped his hands. "It's great. Third Master and Gu Si have agreed to break up, and Xiao Xian and Zhang Junlin have also reached an agreement. Everyone is happy, and we can finally talk about business." Lu Ziwen frowned. "Why didn't Qin Wan knock out your teeth just now? Does she have that ability?" Ji Sun kicked him and said, "The Third Master is hurting you." End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 412. Chapter 412, Who would make things difficult for the baby? 6 people gathered in the box again, and the atmosphere was completely different. The two fell out, and the atmosphere of Ji-sun and Zhang Junlin's sweet love was gone. Gu Si and Lu Ziwen did not change much. This time the negotiation seemed more solemn. "You said one thing and I changed another. You came and I went back and forth." The efficiency was high. Qin Wan and Rong Li almost celebrated each other. This is how they should talk. This kind of negotiation, the occasion must be taken seriously. By the time the negotiation was settled, it was already 8 o'clock. Gu Ziu had finished get off work and there was no one at home. Chen Fei sent him to the private restaurant. They happened to have an agreement and planned to go back to their respective homes, but they didn't expect Gu Ziu to come. "Why are you here?" Lu Ziwen asked with a smile. "Dad," Gu Ziu smiled sweetly and threw herself into his arms, playing the role of an innocent and cute child very well. "You don't look good. Are you feeling uncomfortable?" Zhang Junlin narrowed his eyes and Gu Si remained silent. The brother and sister were obviously deeply dissatisfied that when Gu Ziu came in, only Lu Ziwen was in his eyes. Lu Ziwen chuckled and pinched his cheek. "It's an old injury, nothing serious. One thing is also strange. Ever since Gu Ziu came in, his heart-piercing pain has miraculously slowed down. What a loving father and a filial son." Zhang Junlin looked strange. Lu Ziwen shocked two people with one sentence: "If Mr. Zhang is envious, he can also consider getting married and having a child, so there is no need to be jealous of other people's sons." Chang Junlin. Ji Sun. Zhang Junlin must admit that he lost on this point. "Brother, what's wrong with you?" Gu Ziu poked Ji Sun's face. "Why do you look unhappy?" "He just fell out of love, so leave him alone," Lu Ziwen said. "Ah, sorry." Chang Junlin. Gu Si. "Are you sure this is how the word is used?" Gu Ziu, a master of lively atmosphere, asked, "Are you all settled?" "It's settled." Gu Ziu clapped his hands happily. "Can we eat now? The baby is so hungry." A group of people who were either heartbroken or disgusted with each other and planned to go back to their respective homes were silent for a few seconds. Zhang Junlin rang the bell and asked people to come in and order food. Gu Ziu happily was about to sit down next to Lu Ziwen when he noticed that Zhang Junlin and Gu, with Gu Si's expression on his face, he naturally moved to Gu Si's side. Gu Si tore up a pack of wet tissues and wiped his hands and face. "Didn't you have dinner?" "I went to a symposium with the old man in the afternoon. I only had snacks but no food. I went back to the office to catch up on another case and it was past dinner time." Gu Ziu's stomach growled in response to the occasion. Wrongly clicked his tongue. "Forget it. If you hire child labor, you still don't have enough to eat. The little kid is still growing. What if he gets hungry and doesn't grow taller? I will grow to 1.9 meters. Ji Sun chuckled, and his depressed mood was swept away. "Boys are like mothers, what if they grow to 1.7 meters? Don't curse me." Gu Ziu clenched his little fist in protest. Zhang Junlin looked at Ji Sun and Ziyu who were talking and laughing, and thought to himself that Ziyu and Ji Sun had a really good relationship. Gu Ziu discovered something. If he didn't open up the topic, the group of people would stop chatting and all of them would perform mime. His mother was originally taciturn, and his uncle was also ruthless and didn't talk much. "Dad is very funny, talk and laugh with him. Uncle and mother don't seem to be happy." Gu Ziu looked left and right, and asked tentatively, "Is this an unpleasant conversation?" "Internal secrets cannot be disclosed," Lu Ziwen said with a half smile. Zhang Junlin also gave him the same fake smile. Gu Ziu. "Uncle, there is heating in the room. What are you doing with your scarf on?" Gu Ziu asked innocently. "Isn't it hot?" Ji Sun choked on a mouthful of wine, coughed so hard, and turned red in the face that Rong Li could hardly see. Zhang Junlin was also a little embarrassed, mainly because all the pairs of eyes were looking at his neck. Gu Si was holding back a smile. The faces of the men were all very subtle. Qin Wan miraculously remained silent. Gu Ziu noticed the strange atmosphere and asked innocently, "What's wrong?" "Yes, Mr. Zhang, aren't you hot? Why don't you take off your scarf?" Lu Ziwen was not too busy watching the show. Zhang Junlin's eyebrows darkened. The little wolf cub was a dog and liked to bite him. There were marks on his neck that couldn't be covered by foundation, so how could he see people? Ji Xian also thought of the ups and downs last night, and for a moment he didn't know what the end of the breakup was. Is it sweet or bitter? Gu Xi stuffed a piece of snack into Zio's mouth, and Gu Zio was smart enough to say nothing. Others were also performing mime, some suppressing laughter, and some looking vaguely. Xiao Zio thought worriedly that once the food was served, he would not be the only one to cook seriously. The group of people would take pictures of him cooking with their mobile phones, and then post on WeChat moments to say that my children's food tastes really good. No way, no way. There is a sister in his office who posts videos of her son eating every day. He can't understand it. Do you need to post videos of her son eating so deliciously on WeChat moments 3 times a day? Who wants to pry into your secrets? Gu Zio ate the fruit before the meal, anyone with a brain can think of that. Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows and said jokingly, so, you are here to have dinner with us. What if? Gu Zio was extremely innocent. Qin Wan sowed discord, he suspects you are here to spy on information. Really? Gu Zio said, I'm a little sad. Lu Ziwen touched his head and said, then I'll have an extra rice bowl. Gu Zio snorted coldly and refused to argue with him. The focus of the conversation was on Gu Zio and they tried not to talk about other things. Wrongly asked, you are participating in a symposium at such a young age. Can you listen to others talking about people's livelihood? Do you understand? Some can understand, some can't. When someone asks me, I answer. When no one asks me, I just eat and drink tea. Gu Zio also has his own way of communication. I am young, the information also shows that they are pampered and can understand even if they don't understand this aspect of the topic. Is anyone making things difficult for you? Ji Xian asked. Gu Zio stuffed a grape into his mouth with a very skillful movement. Who would make things difficult for a 7-year-old baby except you? Everybody. Lu Ziwen propped up his chin. Is there a possibility that no one here thinks you are 7 years old? Lu Ziwen was jealous of the grape in Ji Sun's mouth. His son had not fed him yet. I am 7 years old, Gu Zio glared at Lu Ziwen, not allowing him to cause trouble. He was already very familiar with the character of a 7-year-old baby. Qin Wan frowned, I have long wanted to ask, baby, do you report good news or bad news? You are close to Lu Ziwen and my master. No one has ever suspected that you are an undercover agent sent by them. Chen Liangdong also, can I use you without any distractions? This is what Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin both wanted to ask. Gu Xi and Gu Zio had discussed this topic before, so they remained silent. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 413. Chapter 413 Pistachio Encounter. After the incident was exposed, Gu Xi was worried about Ziu's situation in Qiuan. After talking to him, Ziu was really not a baby after all. After a deep discussion, she told Gu Xi not to worry. This was his career and dilemma, and he would handle it well. She just helped Zhang Junlin. This is a secret, no comment, Gu Zio said enigmatically. After nibbling the fruit, he finally served the cold dishes. 10 cold dishes came out one after another. Gu Zio picked up 2 pieces of spare ribs with chopsticks. Zhang Junlin said, what kind of secret is this? Let's talk about it. Gu Zio was a little afraid of Zhang Junlin, and this matter also had something to do with Zhang Junlin. He gnawed on the ribs and said, I talked to the old man once when my father's identity was exposed, and I also talked to the old man once when my uncle's identity was exposed. The old man also investigated me. Although his identity and origin are still unclear, he still chose to believe me. Qin Wan admired him, you are so big-hearted. Wrongly frowned, the others didn't make things difficult for you. I told you, no one will make things difficult for the children. If they have any ideas, they can come to the old man and he can deal with it. After Gu Zio gnawed 2 pieces of ribs, his hunger subsided a little. Is it that simple? Ji Sun was confused. It's not like it has any impact at all. My behavior records are recorded in Chen Fei's book. The old man has to check it from time to time, and some people have to find trouble from time to time. Do a simple time arithmetic problem. If I want to climb to the head of the information department, this position can be taken up after 2 years of training after graduating with a doctorate. Now it may take 5 or 6 years more. Gu Zio didn't mind at all. Real gold is not afraid of fire, so this time cost I do not mind. Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin actually knew that their identities would definitely have an impact on Gu Zio. They originally followed Chen Liangdong and took a smooth path, but now they have to undergo many loyalty tests, which is very unfair to Zio. Fortunately, Gu Zio and them were only close, not legally related. If it was a legal relationship, Gu Zio would definitely be kicked out of the National Security Bureau. Chen Liangdong kept Zio safe, and Zio was at best a non-staff member. There was no way he could take over Chen Liangdong's job. Everyone tacitly understood this and never mentioned it. It would be terrible if someone wanted to test DNA on a whim. Ji Sun said something shocking. Gu Zio clicked his tongue. I don't look like anyone else, who has nothing to do to test us. Chang Junlin, who had nothing to do, said. He just had doubts and went to test it secretly. Don't be so sure, Zhang Junlin said coldly. If you want to continue on this path, you should deal with the aftermath of things that should be dealt with, and don't really go wrong. Since Zhang Junlin knew Gu Zio's identity, he had actually helped him deal with the aftermath and provided him with a series of background supplements. Fortunately, Gu Ci and Lu Ziwen were still young, and no one suspected that they were a family of 3. If they were a few years older, it's hard to explain. It is good for Gu Zio to have smooth sailing, but if someone stirs up trouble, a perfect background can be arranged for him. The half-grown young man had a good appetite. After Gu Zio swept through the cold dishes, he finally served the hot dishes. He, Rong Li and Qin Wan were the only ones who were serious about cooking. Qin Wan and Rong Li had a fight that consumed a lot of money. Lu Ziwen was thinking about whether Gu Zio had something to do with his pain, and he had no appetite. Gu Ci was thinking about Lu Ziwen's injury and kept observing him. The atmosphere between Zhang Junlin and Ji Xian was subtle, and neither of them had the appetite to eat. When all the hot dishes were served, Rong Li discovered one thing even though he was so rough. This restaurant serves Chinese food without adding onion or garlic, several dishes are stir-fried. Even if his cooking skills are average, he knows that this is an essential ingredient for Chinese food. Qin Wan said, "My master won't eat it? Why does he deprive us of the right to eat if he doesn't eat?" Rong Li argued, and glanced at Ji Sun, finally knowing why Ji Sun's Buddha jumping over the wall flavor was always bad. It turns out that Zhang Junlin is a picky eater. Qin Wan said arrogantly, "Because this shop belongs to my master." Lu Ziwen and Rong Li both looked at Ji Sun and asked you to make an appointment. Did you make the appointment on Zhang Junlin's territory? Rong Li gave Qin Wan a weird thumbs up. Gu Zio changed the subject and asked Qin Wan, "Did brother Rong and sister Qin Wan have a fight?" Rong Li and Qin Wan sneered, their eyes daggers flying around, but they were still ready to fight. Gu Zio asked Bagua, "Who won?" "Me," Rong Li and Qin Wan said in unison, neither of them admitting defeat. "It's ridiculous. You were beaten like this, and you still win." Qin Wan showed his arms. "I am injured, otherwise I will take off both of your arms." Flowers and embroidered legs, blow it, who is not injured? Rong Li was also injured, thinking that Lu Ziwen and Zhang Junlin were negotiating, and he was merciful, but Qin Wan did not expect that Qin Wan would kill him. "You go out and fight again," Zhang Junlin said. Qin Wan accepted it as soon as he saw it. Rong Li didn't mention it again, and the relationship was over. Lu Ziwen frequently picks up food for Gu Ziyu. During this period of time together with Gu Ziyu, he also knows what his son likes to eat. He loves meat and is not picky about food. He likes to eat everything and his taste is sweet. To others, it is indeed a picture of a loving father and a filial son. He missed the growth of Gu Ziyu, and regretted that he failed to protect him and suffered inhuman treatment. He always wanted to make up for it, but Gu Ziyu refused to accept anyone who came, and his cheeks were bulging after eating. Gu Ziyu gave Ji Sun a big chicken leg and said, "Eat." Ji Sun smiled and rubbed his head. Gu Si, Lu Ziwen, and Zhang Junlin all felt that the food was no longer tasty. "Why do you only serve Ji Sun with vegetables?" Lu Ziwen asked. Gu Ziyu was stunned for a moment and found 3 pairs of eyes looking at him. It was a round table. Gu Ziyu was sitting next to Gu Si. To the right of Gu Si were Zhang Junlin and Qin Wan. To the left of Gu Ziyu was Ji Sun, Lu Ziwen and Rong Li. "Because he's sitting next to me," Gu Zi was in a hurry. He saw Ji Sun's unhappy look and gave him a big chicken drumstick. "Was this a hornet's nest?" "Gu Si is also sitting next to you," Qin Wan said. Gu Ziyu said, "Mom only eats vegetables and fruits at night." Rong Li shook his head and joked, "So, baby, a bowl of water must be held level." Gu Ziyu was not used to them. "You can do whatever you want, I don't care about you." "Everybody." Zhang Junlin glanced at Ji Sun. Ji Sun's eyes had been avoiding him since the second time he came in to negotiate. Even if he bumped into him by chance, there was no light in his eyes. Zhang Junlin felt slightly suffocated and felt very uncomfortable. He accepted the ending calmly, but still felt heartbroken. Ji Sun is already paranoid and sensitive. What is he going to do with Ji Sun? What to do? Because I had my son around, the meal was considered peaceful and there was no tension. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 414. Chapter 414, Lost in Love and Drunk. After eating and drinking, they went back. Ji Huan sat in the car and looked at Zhang Junlin's back. His eyes were nostalgic and hurt, and the indifferent pretense at the dinner table could no longer be maintained. He can never be indifferent to Zhang Junlin. Were they separated like this? Ji Sun asked himself, "Are you willing? But if you don't want to give in, what else can you do?" In his heart, responsibility, morality, family affection, family and country are all more important than you, and you are like a speck of dust in his heart. He can only accept this result calmly. Can we be imprisoned again? Ji Sun was very drunk. The rooftop of the global building was a good place to watch the stars. The moonlight was just right and the sky was full of stars. Winter turned to spring and the cold suddenly changed to warm. There were already 2 empty wine bottles at Ji Xian's feet. Downstairs, Lu Ziwen handled the work at hand and studied the information extracted from the canvas. He was still waiting for the agents to investigate the information about Tang Mingzhou. Rong Li came and said, "Third Master, go and persuade Ji Sun." "What's up with him? Drinking on the rooftop is really promising. Call the gastroenterology department of the central hospital and get ready," Lu Ziwen said calmly. "Let him drink." Rong Li was still thinking that the third master could persuade Ji Sun, but he didn't expect that the third master would be such a hardcore persuasion. "Ignore him. Send someone to keep an eye on him to prevent him from accidentally falling downstairs when he's drunk," Lu Ziwen said calmly, just in time to perform the surgery that took him half a year. Rong Li gave a thumbs up. "Awesome." Ji Sun had some stomach problems. He postponed the operation for several months and drank too much. Rong Li was so angry that he went upstairs to drink with him. Nick and the others were staring at Ji Sun, and he was not at ease. "This is all you have, and you are still drunk after being broken in love. Are you a middle school student?" Rong Li kicked him, and Ji Sun sat leaning against the corner, stretching his legs, feeling decadent and degenerate. Rongli was getting angry on the ground. Ji-sun pointed at the sky, "Brother, look, the moonlight is so beautiful." Rongli looked up and saw that the sky was full of stars, but there was no moon. He was probably hallucinating because he was drunk. Besides, when did you, a gloomy and sickly werewolf, have the romantic character of looking at the stars and admiring the moon? Ji-sun drank so hard that he coughed up all the red wine. Rongli couldn't stand it anymore and hit him on the back of the neck with a palm. Ji-sun was knocked unconscious. Nick was horrified to see him. Even if he gave him 10 courages, he wouldn't do it. Dare to knock the master unconscious like this. Rongli kicked the wine bottle away angrily, picked up Ji-sun and told Nick, "Go to the hospital and have his surgery done." Yes. Zhang Junlin also had a fever at night and was very uncomfortable with his stomach. When he went to the study to look for medicine, Lin Chunli became alarmed. Lin Chunli saw that his expression was so bad that she was startled. "Zhang Junlin, what's wrong?" "My stomach hurts." Zhang Junlin endured the severe pain in his stomach and gave up the stomach medicine. "Mom, let Zhang Qiang call an ambulance." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Junlin fainted and fell to the floor. "Junlin," Lin Chunli screamed, not caring to help Zhang Junlin, and hurriedly went downstairs to ask Zhang Qiang to contact the hospital. When she came up, Zhang Minghua had already come out and was supporting Zhang Junlin. Zhang Qiang contacted the hospital to come up and help. Zhang Junlin was wearing a black nightgown. After he fainted, the collar was a little open and full of hickeys and scratches. Zhang Minghua and Lin Chunli looked at each other in shock. When did their son have a girlfriend? I wanted to ask Zhang Qiang, but I couldn't think of it. Zhang Qiang also saw these traces of ambiguity. He wrapped him in a thick coat and carried Zhang Junlin downstairs. Gu Ci was preparing to write a medical paper and was not asleep yet. When Zhang Qiang informed her, he broke into a cold sweat. She and Qin Wan hurriedly packed up and ran to the hospital. Zhang Junlin has a polyp in his stomach. In addition to the polyp, it is also chronically congested and inflamed all year round, so he has been prescribed medicine to suppress it. The ambulance took them to the central hospital. Xiaoming, Zhang Junlin's attending doctor, happened to be operating on an important person at the central hospital tonight. The operation was halfway through. After his assistant informed him, Xiaoming quickly called the doctor from the central hospital and asked him to take over the operation. The doctor was sweating. "Dr. Xia, this is the operation that the old gentleman asked you to perform. If something goes wrong, we can't afford it." Xiaoming came to the central hospital precisely because Xiaoming was called for surgery. Xiaoming said, "The most dangerous part of the operation is over. You have no problem with the second half." He was under general anesthesia and fell asleep. "I don't know who performed the operation. You continue and believe in yourself. No matter how important the person lying down is, he is not as important as a hair of Zhang Junlin's." After Xiaoming came out of the operating room, he knew that the ambulance was on the way, so he sent someone to coordinate with the director about the operating room and instruments, replaced his team with a group of people, and warned, "As small as a piece of wire, it's as big as a bottle of medicine, so be sure to check it carefully and make sure there's no mistake." Clear. Zhang Qiang informed Gu Ci that Zhang Junlin was in coma, and blocked the news throughout the process. He kept it secret all the way to the hospital, and sent him to the operating room as soon as he arrived. Xiaoming led his team to examine Zhang Junlin. He performed Zhang Junlin's physical examination and gastrointestinal endoscopy. The case was clear and the problem was probably caused by him. "Doctor, just in case." Dr. North came, put on sterile clothes, and entered the operating room to assist Xiaoming when he was ready. Zhang Qiang led people on guard. The doctors, nurses, and assistants were all members of Xiaoming's team, and medications were screened at all levels. Wan was anxious and nervous. Did they poison me after the afternoon negotiation? Gu Si. Zhang Qiang was afraid of causing unnecessary commotion, so he asked Zhang Minghua and Lin Chunli to wait for news at home. Gu Si reported the situation and calmed their emotions. Dr. North gave a report to Gu Si halfway. Gu Si called Zhang Minghua. Uncle, don't worry, it's caused by polyps in the stomach. My brother's polyps grow too fast and must be removed. This is a minor operation, so don't worry too much. Is it a minor surgery? Why did you faint? Lin Chunli was so worried that her voice was trembling. She had never seen Zhang Junlin faint since she was a child. Gu Si said, brother has worked too hard during this period. Various symptoms will be caused by not getting a good rest. It will be over in 2 hours. Don't worry, just sleep and wake up and you will be fine. After she emphasized it repeatedly, Zhang Minghua and Lin Chunli felt relieved. Wan couldn't understand the film and the report. Is it just a polyp? Gu Si shook his head. It was a series of reactions caused by polyps. His brother's stomach had been suffering from chronic osmotic congestion. The gastric environment was particularly poor, and the risk of cancer was doubled compared to a year ago. Is it serious? Zhang Qiang asked worriedly. Gu Si glanced at the operating room and said, let's wait until the operation is over. There was no problem with this operation, but the follow-up care was a long process. He had chronic gastritis and needed care. Gu Si had seen Zhang Junlin's case. His stomach problems started 6 years ago. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 415. Chapter 415. The Wolf Cub's Double Standards. Neither the Zhang family nor the Lin family has hereditary diseases. Although Zhang Junlin is a picky eater, he has always been in good health since he was a child. After suddenly suffering from stomach problems 6 years ago, he stayed on the front line for another 2 years and had 3 irregular meals. And picky eaters, small problems turned into big problems. I told him a long time ago not to be picky about food, even if he has stomach problems. Wan was angry and helpless. Zhang Qiang hesitated to speak. In fact, his master was a picky eater, but he had been well taken care of since he was a child. There was a reason why his stomach appeared, but Zhang Qiang was tight-lipped and did not dare to talk about Zhang Junlin's privacy. Wan and Gu Si were waiting for news. Wan's phone vibrated. She glanced at it and blurted out, it's a narrow road for enemies. What's wrong? Ji-sun is performing an operation upstairs, also in the gastroenterology department. Wan showed Gu Si that this was a message from the Jidao information team. There were dedicated people keeping an eye on every move of Black Hawk's top executives. What's wrong with him? Gu Si frowned. He fell in love and got drunk, drank too much, had a perforated stomach. It was his own fault, Wan mocked. Zhang Qiang coughed twice. He had a gastric perforation. It must have been several months, and it was not caused by alcoholism. Wan smiled softly. Oh, you are so understanding. Gu Si. Zhang Qiang. Zhang Junlin's operation took an hour longer than Gu Si expected. There were some complications during the operation, but the overall risk was relatively small. The operation was successful and considered a near miss. After the operation, Gu Si reported that she was safe in the group. Ji-sun's operation upstairs was slower than Zhang Junlin's, and overall it went smoothly. I don't know what the fate was. The operation was on the upper and lower floors, but the hospitalization was on the same floor, and he still lived across the door. Gu Si came out of Zhang Junlin's ward and saw Rong. Li and the others sent Ji Huan into the ward. They didn't know what to say for a moment. What kind of evil fate was this? Rong Li was surprised to see Gu Si. He had been at the door of the operating room. His mobile phone had low battery and did not read the message. Goosey, why are you here? My brother had an operation and just entered the ward. Rong was silent for 3 seconds and said, what a coincidence, Ji Xian also has surgery tonight. What's up with him? Stomach perforation, where is Zhang Junlin? Stomach polyps. What a coincidence. The awkward chat ended and everyone left. Rong Li complained angrily, why was Zhang Junlin hospitalized right across from them? It's such a fate. You two enemies both had surgeries on the same day. Are you afraid that others won't know that you both want to die on the same day of the same year? Lu Ziwen had known the news for a long time. The coincidence was so helpless that the floor of the inpatient building was under martial law and all the original patients were moved to other floors. Zhang Qiang and Nick were walking with their brothers on both sides of the corridor like door gods, going back and forth. The nurses and doctors couldn't help but look at it several times. Nick asked, brother, do you smoke? Zhang Qiang pointed to the warning sign that smoking is prohibited in the hospital. The two of them are old acquaintances. After all, they always have to look after the owner. Nick said, you can go smoke in the corridor. Zhang Qiang rejected his warm invitation, while on duty, you are not allowed to leave your post without permission. Nick thought to himself, not even a fly can fly in here, so what are you afraid of? Is your master's surgery serious? Nick asked. Zhang Qiang, minor surgery, where is your master? It's also a minor surgery. I don't eat on time, and I'm always being drunk during social events. My stomach is damaged by drinking, Nick said. Why is your master's stomach so serious? Is it because he is a picky eater? Zhang Qiang's face was expressionless. It's also bad because of drinking. Drinking is really harmful to people. Heroes think alike. The two of them exchanged news about each other's masters. After all, they had to report, and they were both very discerning. As soon as Zhang Junlin woke up, he was faced with the fact that his grandfather, grandmother, and parents took turns to teach him about the disadvantages of picky eating. He wanted him to correct his bad habits in the future, eat more, and nourish his stomach. Grandma Zhang even meant that his stomach was not as good as hers. She has always had a good stomach despite her age. Zhang Junlin knew that they were frightened, and he listened obediently to their loving complaints. This talk lasted for 2 hours. Zhang Junlin had undergone surgery and was not in good spirits. There was an endless stream of people visiting the patients during surgery, sending off one after another. Fruits and flowers were piled up in the whole ward, and Zhang Junlin had a headache. In comparison, Nick felt a little pity for his master. Ji Xian woke up, no one visited him, and the ward was deserted. Lu Ziwen was busy investigating Tang Minghu's affairs. Rong Li left after knowing that his operation was safe. Even though Ji Yu looked like a little puppy in front of Zhang Junlin, he was all round and good at dancing, but no matter how warm he was to others, he was just superficial. On the surface, he is very cold in his heart. The business world is full of smart people, and they can see through his true face. What's more, he never informed anyone that he was hospitalized for surgery. Nick looked at the people coming and going at the door of Zhang Junlin's ward. It was lively and warm, and he couldn't help but feel even more sorry for his master. He was so pitiful that he was alone without any relatives. Zhang Qiang asked, why doesn't your master have anyone come to visit him? He is an orphan and has no relatives. Zhang Qiang knew that Ji Huan was an orphan. Won't third master and Rong Li come to see him? They are all very busy. Zhang Qiang thought to himself, that is really a bit pitiful. Nick also knew what Zhang Qiang was thinking. If they were not on the same floor, the contrast would not be so strong. On the same floor, if one was in the south and the other in the north, the contrast would not be so strong. But on the opposite side, one has a crowded house and the other has a bustling house. The contrast is too strong. Ji Sun didn't have a good rest that day. After the anesthesia wore off, he felt a little pain. The pain was not very severe, but it was impossible to ignore. Then it was noisy outside, so he became a little impatient. He called Nick in with a very impatient tone. "What's going on outside? Isn't this floor cleared? It's so noisy that it hasn't stopped since early in the morning." Nick said in embarrassment, "Master, this floor is completely empty, only 2 wards are occupied. The ward does not have soundproof walls, so it will naturally be noisy." "What's going on?" Nick couldn't hide it anymore, so he had to say, "Master, Mr. Zhang lives across the street." Ji Xian was stunned and suddenly lifted the quilt. "What's going on?" He pulled the wound as soon as he moved, and lay back instantly, his face pale. Nick came over and held him down. "Master, don't worry, it's a minor operation." "Wrongly said, you just had an operation, so you shouldn't worry. I'll tell you in 2 days. Zhang is always a minor operation, really." "What's wrong with him?" Ji Xian held Nick's arm excitedly, the corners of his eyes reddening. "There was a polyp in the stomach and it was removed." Nick told him the news he had found out. "He woke up earlier than you." Zhang Qiang said that he can already speak. "His body is recovering and there is nothing serious. You don't worry." "Didn't you lie to me?" "What did I lie to you for?" Nick sent Ji Xian the surgical drape and report that Zhang Qiang gave him. "Master, I'm absolutely keeping it safe, don't move. If you find it too noisy, I'll ask the doctor to open a new ward." "No need." Ji Sun listened to the lively things outside. "It's good. 20,000 words will be updated in the early morning tomorrow, and 10,000 words will be updated at noon. It is tentatively scheduled." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 416. Chapter 416. I'm superficial, I only care about my face. Ji Sun, who was very impatient just now, was envious of the fireworks outside the door. "My brother was originally a proud son of heaven, born noble and loved by many people. He was different, he was just a weed on the roadside. If he dies, no one will shed tears for him, and no one will miss him. A person is a lonely person in life, and a lonely ghost in death. Brother, I'm here to see you." Guziu, a small boy, came to visit the patient holding a bouquet of big red roses. He was small and carried a heavy fruit basket. Nick hurriedly helped him carry the fruit basket and put it aside. "Why are you here?" Ji Huan was surprised. Guziu put the roses on the bedside and said with a smile, "Of course I came to see you. Does the wound hurt? I still can't avoid this knife." "What?" Guziu shook his head. "It's nothing. Does it hurt?" "It doesn't hurt." Ji Xian smiled sincerely, and Guziu's greeting warmed his heart. He patted the edge of the bed, and Guziu sat on it. Ji Xian flicked his forehead and said dotingly, "Who told the baby I was in the hospital?" "Dad said that." Guziu frowned, and followed Ji Sun's example of flicking his forehead and bounced it back. "Dad said you were worthless and you drank yourself into the hospital." Ji Xian thought to himself that the third master was not wrong, it was indeed such a thing. Guziu was puzzled. Is it so sad to be broken up? You have no appetite to eat, and you still want to get drunk. You will understand when you grow up. I don't want to understand. Guziu didn't want to cause such trouble at all. You have set a bad example for me. They are all negative teaching materials. I don't want to cause trouble. If you are broken up, find another one. Nick felt that it was not appropriate to listen anymore and pushed out of the ward. Ji Sun couldn't help laughing, looking at the innocent and carefree boy. His wounds were hurting with joy. "Okay, when I get better, I'll find another one." That's right, think about it a little bit in life, happiness is the most important thing, Guzio said. My uncle also has a minor surgery, he's next door, did you know? No. Oh. Guzio was smart enough not to mention it again. He opened his school bag and brought several love novels to Ji Xian. As soon as Ji Xian read the titles, his eyes twitched and hurt. What a CEO's dribbling. My little sweet wife, the overbearing boss wants to marry me. What's this? I picked it up from Sister Qin Wan's desk for your entertainment, Guzio said. She said it was a love novel. You are heartbroken, so reading a love novel can help you heal. Ji Sun's lips twitched. Have you seen it? No, Guzio blinked and said ambiguously, Sister Qin Wan said that I am underage and not suitable for watching. You are an adult and can enjoy it? No need to. Ji Xian thought to himself, did you bring me a pornographic book? Zhang Junlin, who was next door, was furious after seeing off his relatives. He said very bluntly, Mom, Dad, please don't let them come. I am recovering from my injuries, and I have to spend time entertaining them and moving around, the wounds hurt. Okay, I'm back, Zhang Minghua said. Grandpa and uncles are also worried about you. Just text messages of condolences. Lin Chunli patted his hand and said, this is due to the worldly nature and social interactions. You have to be a loner. Because Zhang Junlin was too busy, except for his grandfather, grandmother, and parents who were able to see him when they were sick, the others really called him to express condolences and sent gifts, so they did not have time to socialize too much. He has had little contact with the Lin family since he was a child, and his relationship is a little weak. After Gu Ci went to the bathroom to wash the apples, Lin Chunli poked Zhang Minghua. Zhang Minghua shook his head, with a look of resistance. Zhang Junlin looked at the lawsuit on his parents' faces and raised his eyebrows. What's wrong? Junlin, you're in the hospital, it's such a big deal, why don't you see your girlfriend coming to see you? Zhang Junlin asked tentatively, girlfriend? Lin Chunli nodded, a little excited. Her son was 28 years old. He finally understood and was overjoyed. Our family is very open-minded. As long as you like it, we will accept it. Zhang Junlin was confused. Gu Ci was not here. He didn't know who to ask, so he kept silent to avoid making mistakes. Zhang Minghua saw this and said, are you just playing for fun? If you want to give up, Junlin, you are wrong. Zhang Junlin was still silent. Lin Chunli, do you like married women? Dad, Mom, where did you go? Zhang Junlin didn't know why they were so sure. He is shy. We are very easygoing and don't pay attention to anything. Lin Chunli mainly believed in Zhang Junlin's vision. With those eyes that are higher than the top of her head, she must not be attracted to some crooked melons and jujubes, and her personality charm must be attractive enough. Looking at the hickeys all over her body, Zhang Junlin is still a very enthusiastic girl. Zhang Junlin couldn't continue acting. How can you be so sure that I have a girlfriend? Lin Chunli glanced at his neck, and Zhang Junlin suddenly realized that being stared at by his parents made his ears red in a rare way. He was wearing a loose nightgown before he fell into coma, and he passed out in front of his mother. Hey, why are you still shy? Lin Chunli smiled ambiguously. Boys are getting married when they are young, and girls are getting married when they are young. Both parents know it. Where are you from? How old are you? What is your personality like? Are you easy to get along with? How many people are there in the family? Does it look good? Zhang Junlin thought to herself, if her mother continues to talk, the engagement and wedding will be held. Mom, we broke up. Ah, your hickey is so fresh, why did you break up? Lin Chunli blurted out. Chang Junlin. Zhang Minghua frowned, what are you guilty of? I don't have a guilty conscience, Zhang Junlin said expressionlessly, I'm just sad. He heard that I had surgery and was at risk of gastric cancer, so he broke up with me. Lin Chunli, ah, but you are so well behaved. Zhang Minghua, what makes you fall in love with this kind of person? Zhang Junlin had a dull face, I'm superficial, I only care about my face. Lin Chunli. Chang Minghua. Gu Si I washed the apples. Lin Chunli and Zhang Minghua didn't know how to answer the conversation for a while. Zhang Junlin had this ability and could silence his parents every time. Gu Si I couldn't laugh or cry, peeling an apple nearby. Lin Chunli refused to give up, we really broke up. Zhang Junlin said resolutely, yes. Lin Chunli looked at Gu Si I and begged her pitifully. Gu Si I said, Auntie, we really broke up. Lin Chunli pointed at him angrily, what's the point of giving birth to you? Zhang Junlin scolded and refused to retaliate. Zhang Minghua comforted his wife, forget it, we'll break it up. We can just talk about it again. At least it proves that he is in good health. Zhang Junlin. Feeling connoted, what is unhealthy about him? Lin Chunli lost her mood to visit the doctor. She was so active in visiting the doctor, thinking that she could meet her future daughter-in-law. Zhang Minghua changed the subject, Xiao Ci, didn't Ziyu come with you? The one who brought a big bouquet of roses and a fruit basket, why is he missing? End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 417. Chapter 417 How close can I be to you? Gu Si I raised her head and glanced at Zhang Junlin, he went next door to see his friends. Zhang Junlin raised his eyebrows. Zhang Minghua, what kind of friend? Bring a big bouquet of red roses. Good friend Gu Si I secretly thought, she is your daughter-in-law who has just been separated. When it came to buying red roses, she told Ziyu that lilies were the best choice for medical treatment. Ziyu didn't like them because they thought the flowers were so fragrant that Ji-sun wouldn't sleep well. She introduced yellow roses, but he didn't like them either. Guziu picked red roses. He liked this warm and fiery color. Zhang Minghua stopped asking. After they left, Zhang Junlin asked, who lives next door? Ziyu looks like a little angel now, but has a strong sense of boundaries. Who else can let him bring flowers except Chen Liangdong who is in the hospital? But if it is Chen Liangdong, why would he bring red roses? Zhang Junlin's Adam's apple twitched slightly. Gu Si I said, it's Ji-sun. The answer was as he expected, and Zhang Junlin felt suffocated, what's wrong with him? Stomach perforation, I heard it was caused by drinking. Gu Si I told the truth, cutting the peeled apple into small pieces and inserting toothpicks, brother, the minor surgery is milder than yours, and there are no lesions. It's caused by eating habits, just take good care of it in the future. Zhang Junlin knew that Ji-sun had this problem and had already asked him to go to the hospital for minimally invasive surgery. Later, a series of things were delayed, but the operation was successful and everything was fine. Brother, do you want to see him? No need, Zhang Junlin looked out the window. Since they were separated, he had completely stopped thinking about each other. Don't break the connection and give him hope. If you continue to suffer the chaos, it will make each other more painful. At night. He slept too much during the day and became more energetic at night. The hospital environment was noisy. Even though it was an inpatient department and this floor was cleared, the sounds from downstairs could always be heard. Even with the windows closed, Zhang Junlin could hear the crying downstairs. There was a noise, as if someone had passed away. The family members cried heartbrokenly and cursed. After a while of noise, there were physical conflicts. Gradually, it became calm again, and only crying was heard. Zhang Junlin heard from Xiaoming that doctors are willing to work in the central hospital. The security measures here are very good. There are security guards on every floor. The capabilities are very strong. The probability of medical trouble is the lowest among the hospitals in the city. There were several troubles in the pediatric department last year. A child accidentally ate his mother's gold ring at home. The family did not provide first aid. He died as soon as he arrived at the emergency door. In the end, he was not saved. The family insisted on saying that the doctor did not treat him properly. My father was very excited. He scratched the emergency doctor with a fruit knife. Later, the Central Hospital hired the most famous team of lawyers to sue the family members to court, demanding compensation and an apology. The lawsuit was won, and there was a lot of scolding. The family members sent wreaths to the hospital. There was a big fuss, and public opinion was moved. Scolding a hospital doesn't give it a good reputation. However, the Central Hospital, where the most elite doctors in the country are concentrated, has a ward that is hard to find. They are not afraid of scandals. When Zhang Junlin heard the noise of the fight gradually subsided, he knew that the situation was under control. Zhang Junlin heard Nick's voice. "Nick, master, where are you going? It's stuffy in the ward, come out and get some fresh air. This floor is a special ward, specially reserved. In addition to the doctors and nurses on duty, there are only a few wards. Ji Sun's surgery is smaller than that of Zhang Junlin. He can get out of bed and walk around. The ward is really stuffy, so he goes to the roof to blow some air." Nick said, "Master, you have just had an operation and you are even weak. Don't blow the wind in case you catch a cold." "Fine." It gradually calmed down outside. Zhang Junlin endured the pain of the wound after the anesthesia, and his heart ached dully. He had long known that he had to cut through the knot with a quick knife. Long-term pain is not as good as short-term pain. The more entangled, the deeper the pain, the more painful it will be. He was willing to be dragged down by Ji Xian and struggled in the abyss of lust, but every time the heartless words came to his lips and touched his eyes, Zhang Junlin could only watch himself sinking. Since childhood, he has only been indecisive about Ji Sun's affairs. An hour later, he heard Ji Huan's voice again. Zhang Qiang greeted him. He went out to get some fresh air and came back. Zhang Junlin felt sleepy and couldn't sleep when he heard the noise. He took a deep breath and made a decision. "Zhang Qiang, contact Xiaoming and transfer him to another hospital." "Yes." Ji Sun's eyes were extremely sinister when he knew that Zhang Junlin was about to be transferred to another hospital. His brother was so heartless that he refused to leave any hope or thoughts to him and must cut off all his thoughts. But no matter how painful it was, he could only accept it. Gu Ci came to the hospital to arrange Zhang Junlin's transfer. On this day, Lu Ziwen also came to the hospital to see Ji Sun. The two met in the corridor. Now they broke up peacefully. Gu Ci did not avoid Lu Ziwen. She walked towards him. At that moment, Lu Ziwen felt pain, like a knife stabbing his heart, and blood was dripping. He held the wall with one hand and tried his best to suppress the severe pain in his heart. "Li Zhang. Third Master, what's wrong with you?" "Lu Ziwen, what's wrong with you?" Gu Ci hurriedly went to help him. "What's wrong with you?" As soon as she touched Lu Ziwen, it was like Lu Ziwen's reminder, 1,000 arrows piercing his heart. Lu Ziwen hurriedly avoided her hand, but couldn't hold it back. A mouthful of blood dyed the white wall red. "Third Master," Li Zhang was shocked. "Doctor, doctor." Gu Ci's face changed slightly, and she held his hand firmly. "Lu Ziwen, what's wrong with you?" Lu Ziwen spat out another mouthful of blood and looked at her with obscure eyes. Gu Ci was stabbed, and he suddenly let go of his hand. The two were a loving couple, and they could read each other's hearts with one look. Gu Ci seemed to understand something, and her eyes suddenly she turned red, and she backed away crazily. The red on the wall stung her eyes. The doctor and nurse hurriedly came and sent Lu Ziwen for examination, and Li Zhang also hurriedly followed. Gu Ci's heart was cut by a knife, and she already understood that this was more painful than killing her. It turns out that her approach will kill him. She had a suspicion during the negotiation that day, but she did not confirm it. An hour later, on the top floor of the hospital, Gu Xi stood at the top of the stairs, not daring to get close. Lu Ziwen was 10 meters away from him, which was the farthest distance between them. These 10 meters were like a chasm, a road that could not be crossed for hundreds of years. Lu Ziwen, does it hurt? Gu Xi asked with red eyes. I am standing here, do you feel uncomfortable? Gu Xi Bingxiu was smart and could see through it at a glance. Lu Ziwen also knew that he couldn't hide it anymore. Xiao Xi, it doesn't hurt. What about this? Gu Xi took 3 steps forward and shortened her length by 1 meter. She looked at Lu Ziwen and asked sadly, how close can I be to you? 1 meter, 2 meters, or 5 meters? Within 5 meters, Lu Ziwen felt pain. Xiao Xi, as long as you don't touch me, that's fine. That's it, Gu Xi wiped away her tears. When did it start? That night, I watched the stars. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 418. Chapter 418 Dr. Gu in the emergency room. Gu Xi understood. No wonder they fell down the mountain. Lu Ziwen was able to teleport, but he was still injured so badly. It turned out to be her fault. She was still carrying him all the way. Lu Ziwen was in so much pain. No wonder he frequently vomits blood. Her touch was actually his reminder. Why didn't you tell me? Gu Xi asked sharply, why didn't you tell me? If she knew, she would not approach him recklessly and increase his pain. If she knew, she would not approach him again. No matter how much she missed him, she would restrain her desires. Why didn't you tell Gu Xi? Lu Ziwen firstly didn't want Gu Xi to blame himself, and secondly, even the bone-piercing pain in his heart couldn't stop him from wanting to see Gu Xi. If they really never see each other again in this life, he will be tortured even more than this torture. Gu Xi understood the look in his eyes. He was really a fool. She was a madman and he was a fool. They were really a match made in heaven. Gu Xi had complained about the sky and the earth, and the injustice of the gods. Now, she only blamed herself. Why? Meet Lu Ziwen. If they hadn't met, Lu Ziwen wouldn't be in such pain. Lu Ziwen, was it the same in the last life? Gu Xi asked painfully, were you so miserable every day you were with me? Don't lie to me, I want to hear the truth. Lu Ziwen sighed and nodded. Every day after we got married, I felt a sharp pain in my heart, but even so, I never thought of letting go of your hand. Gu Xi felt great pain in her heart, and she backed away in pain. Lu Ziwen took 2 steps toward her, and Gu Xi yelled, you're not allowed to come over. Are you a fool? Since it hurts, why didn't you tell me? Xiao porcelain. Lu Ziwen, Gu Xi didn't know that the person she had been holding in her hands was so fragile. She was actually the source of his pain. If she had known this, if she had known earlier, would she have gone her own way? Lu Ziwen, I will definitely stay away from you from now on. Gu Xi covered up her pain. If there is a way to break the curse, tell me. If I die, can this curse be broken? No, Lu Ziwen said categorically, as long as I am alive, you will not die. Xiaosai, this curse cannot be solved by death. Death will only reincarnate repeatedly. Don't worry, I will definitely do it in my lifetime. Find a solution. He was afraid that Gu Xi would do something stupid. Gu Xi is afraid that he will suffer a lot, but he always bears it alone. Why is fate so unfair? They both want to love each other well and try their best to protect each other, but they can only hate each other for the rest of their lives and cannot stay together. She has accepted the fact that she and Lu Ziwen are separated, and is working hard to heal herself. She still has a glimmer of hope that one day, she and Lu Ziwen will both get what they want. But if the price for Lu Ziwen being with her is to endure torture, will she still be willing? No. She doesn't want to. She hoped that Lu Ziwen would live without illness or disaster. As long as he lived well, that was more important than anything else. I'm sorry, I didn't know, it's because of me that I made you suffer so much, third brother, I'm sorry. Gu Si looked at him sadly. If I had known earlier, I would definitely stay far away from you. Just looking at you from a distance is enough. If she had known his pain in her last life, she would not have gone to look for him when she came back. She would have just watched him standing on top of the world gloriously, being a dazzling and glorious racing driver. That would be fine. Xiao Ci, this is not your fault. Lu Ziwen felt distressed. He knew Gu Si would be like this, so he never wanted to tell her, it's not your fault, don't blame yourself. One day, he will definitely escape this fate. When Gu Si saw him coming, she couldn't bear it anymore and turned around to leave. She ran down the stairs frantically, as if someone was chasing her from behind. Li Zhang looked at her fleeing back and was confused. It was his first time seeing Gu Si crying like this. What heartless words did the third master say to make Miss Gu Si cry like this? It's too awful. Zhang Junlin looked at her red eyes and asked softly, what's wrong? Gu Si shook her head, it's okay, brother, the transfer procedures have been completed, let's go. Gu Si didn't want to say anything more. Zhang Junlin knew it was related to Lu Ziwen, so he didn't force her. Gu Si secretly vowed in her heart that she must be cured as soon as possible. They will definitely find a way to break this curse. There are always more ways than difficulties. She doesn't believe they can't find a way to break it. Ji Huan stood upstairs, watching Zhang Junlin get into the car, his face whiter than the walls of the hospital. Brother, are you happy if I set you free? 5 years later, Nanjing Hospital. The emergency room sent a migrant worker who fell from a height. A steel pipe penetrated his chest. He was dying when he was sent to the emergency room. Gu Si was a rotation doctor. The operation only took 6 hours, and he was exhausted when he got off the operating table. The operation was successful, and the emergency room was filled with joy. When the patient was brought in, no one thought he could survive. Unexpectedly, the operation was successful, and it was Gu Si again. This emergency room doctor, who has just graduated with a doctorate and is working in the emergency room of Nanjing Hospital, has become famous in just 6 months. The patients on her operating table can all come back safely. Her medical skills are superb and she is calm and calm. She is an emergency room doctor. Many cardiac and neurosurgery doctors like to exchange experiences with Gu Si. It took Gu Si 8 years to study for a combined undergraduate and master's degree. It took him 5 years to complete them all. After 4 years of college, Gu Si majored in cardiothoracic surgery and neurosurgery. Gu Si received 2 PhDs a year earlier than Gu Si and had already left campus. With Chen Liangdong's promotion, Gu Si's position in Qiuan was also very stable. Her mental condition has recovered in the past few years. She took over the position of the leader of the Yakuza 2 years ago. After graduation, she worked in the emergency room of a hospital invested by the Yakuza. She worked as an emergency room doctor during the day. The rest of the time, serving the Jida dark network, Zhang Junlin changed the Yuda's usual system for Gu Si. Gu Si was responsible for all the Jida's financial sector. Zhang Junlin completely cut off the financial sector from the Jida dark network. It was just financial services. Gu Si made few enemies, and there was no danger in being a doctor. But in fact, Gu Si participated in most of the management and arrangements of the Jidao dark network. Many decisions did not need to go through Zhang Junlin, and she could make decisions directly. The little nurse ordered a cup of coffee, winked and said, "Dr. Gu, This is the coffee Jolie sent to our emergency room. Jolie pursued Gu Si, and almost everyone in the hospital knew about it. They are all betting on when Jolie can catch up with Dr. Gu. Gu Si does not work night shift. Nanjing Hospital is a hospital invested by Jida. She has more freedom than ordinary doctors. She gets off work at 5 o'clock. Unless there is an emergency, Gu Si handles Jida's official business at night and will not return to the hospital. Jolie was waiting for her in the parking lot. Today was Jolie's birthday. Gu Si promised to celebrate his birthday with him and give him a song. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 419. Chapter 419 Parent-Child Time. When she went to work, her hair was casually tied into a bun. She was casual and beautiful. She wore a simple t-shirt and jeans. She was dressed just like an ordinary doctor. Gu Si recognized Jolie's car and knocked on the window. Jolie opened the door. Waved his hand with a smile. Dr. Gu, our rescuer, has worked hard. This is to reward you on behalf of all the patients. Jolie handed over a box of snacks. Gu Si chuckled and said, "It takes more than 3 hours to queue for this internet celebrity snack. Are you going to queue?" "There is a group in this world called scalpers," Jolie joked. "They queue for 300 yuan for 3 hours. Is this money easy to make?" "Specializes in blackmailing people like you who are stupid and have a lot of money." Although Gu Si complained and ate 2 pastries, she had some hypoglycemia, but it was not serious. After a long operation, her abdomen was empty. Desserts and chocolates were her best snacks. Jolie came to pick her up every time. "They will all bring snacks." Gu Si told him about the patients in the emergency room. Even though they were separated by a mountain, Jolie listened very carefully. "You saved that patient. It was on the hot search today. His body was pierced by a steel pipe. Netizens said he couldn't be saved." "Saved?" Gu Si chuckled. "Wow, our Dr. Gu is really a miracle doctor." Jolie took a second look at the hot search because Gu Si was in the emergency room of Nanjing Hospital. The situation was quite bad. He didn't expect to be saved. Jolie gave a thumbs up. "Do not hesitate to praise." Gu Si was about to reply when she received a call from Gu Ziu. "Mom, I got off work early today. I'll pick you up and let's have dinner together." Gu Ziu's voice was in the period of changing her voice, and her voice was a little hoarse, but her tone was very cheerful. Gu Si said, "Jolie and I have made an appointment to go to dinner together, so I can't accompany you." "Ah." Gu Ziu was a little unhappy. He had been busy with cases since he came back from a business trip last week and had no time to have dinner with Gu Si. He finally arranged all the work, but his mother didn't have time. "Okay, mommy is happy." Gu Ziu thought for a while and asked Chen Fei to go to the global center while he went to find Lu Ziwen. Ji Sun and Rong Li moved to live downstairs from Lu Ziwen. Black Eagle's business has been in Asia in the past few years. Rong Li, Ji Sun, and Lu Ziwen are all in the world, so the security problem can be solved easily. The case Gu Ziu handled this time was related to Black Eagle. Eagle-related. Ji Huan and the 9 CEOs of Black Hawk had just finished a meeting when they came out and saw Gu Ziu, who was traveling around the world unimpeded. "Why is the baby here?" "Don't call me baby anymore," Gu Ziu protested. The 12-year-old Gu Ziu was more than 1.6 meters tall and grew very fast. Ji Sun and Rong Li finally believed in this kid's lofty ideals. He would grow up to 1.9 meters. Now he looks like a young boy, and his charm is more and more like Lu Ziwen. If a child star idol debuted, he would be able to charm a large number of young girls and mother fans. Ji Sun chuckled, still used to rubbing his head. Wrongly was on a business trip. Only he and Lu Ziwen were at Universal. Lu Ziwen was upstairs reading the information sent back by Wrong Li. There was a case related to the national security, or ZIU. The person in charge, Lu Ziwen, frowned slightly, and Li Zhang knocked on the door outside. Third master, the young master is here. Lu Ziwen raised his eyebrows. It has been 2 years since his precious son graduated with a doctorate and is now working as a full-time child laborer. He and Gu Si are like a divorced family. The custody of the children is in Gu Si's hands. On weekends, Gu Zia comes back to have dinner with him. When playing, I basically don't talk about business. On non-weekends, Zia rarely comes. Dad, I'm here to eat. Gu Zia threw his school bag on the sofa and threw himself on the sofa, paralyzed. I finally found time to have dinner with my mother. Who knew she was on a date? Lu Ziwen was startled, and Ji Sun asked maliciously, who is Ziasai dating? Zhou Li. Oh, the king of superstars, he is very popular. He is the brand spokesperson for the jewelry company Black Eagle invested in last year, Ji Xian said. His songs are also very popular. Gu Si took you to a concert at the beginning of the year. It was his right? Yes, VIP family vote, Gu Zia said. He is handsome, caring, and he obeys his advice. He has the same interests as his mother. I will be a stepfather if I have the chance. Lu Ziwen. Ji Sun laughed. Are you here on purpose to cause trouble for the third master? I'm just here to make a meal. Gu Zia blinked. Dad, you won't be angry. What do you want to eat tonight? I'll cook it for you. No need to, Gu Zia refused. Brother, you can cook it? I like the food you cook. Okay, I'll cook it for you. Ji Sun's cooking skills have improved a lot in the past few years. Finally, in Gu Zia's memory, Ji Sun, who cooked delicious food and was also very agile, cooked it for Gu Zia and Lu Ziwen. 5 dishes and 1 soup, both meat and vegetable, nutritious and healthy. We are more like a family of 3, hey. Gu Zia couldn't help but sigh while eating the ribs. Ji Sun and Lu Ziwen smiled helplessly. Lu Ziwen said, why do you still need to go on business trips when you are underage? You work more than 10 hours a day, and you occasionally have to go on business trips. The old scalpers in the field are not working as hard as you. Gu Zia became angry when he talked about this. One of my team members stabbed Lu Zia, and I went to deal with the aftermath. Forget it, my bonus was deducted. It's so miserable. How much bonus has been deducted? Ji Xian asked with a smile. Year-round bonus. Ji Sun pinched his cheek pitifully. Child workers have to go on a business trip and have their bonuses deducted. It's really miserable. You're almost laughing, Gu Zia condemned. Ji Xian couldn't hold it back and laughed out loud. How much bonus do you have per year? Are you so distressed? No matter how much the bonus is, it is my hard-earned money. You are the leader, and if your subordinates make mistakes, you will naturally take the blame. Lu Ziwen said that although Gu Zia has made great progress in being a worldly person, managing a team will inevitably lead to problems. He is too young. The admission requirements for national security are either a doctorate in a major in national defense from a military academy or a doctorate from a top university. Some people are already 30 years old when they enter. They are all arrogant and pretentious. Zia is only 12 years old, so he can hold his own. Who? Lu Ziwen and Ji Xian heard from Gu Zia for the first time that something was wrong with his team. You and Ji Sun should learn more, Lu Ziwen said. In terms of the art of controlling people, Ji Sun is the most talented Lu Ziwen has ever seen. Perhaps it is because he grew up on the street and experienced misery, so he can understand people's hearts very well. Always able to figure out other people's weaknesses. Gu Zia also went through a dark period, but he was withdrawn, autistic, and did not interact with others, so he had to learn the art of controlling his subordinates from scratch. It would be fine if he was an adult. The average age of the entire team was 30. How could he control it? Chen Liangdong seemed to know the crux of the problem, but did not stop him. There are currently 9 people in my team, and only 3 are available. Apart from these 3 people, one is a nerd who studies hard and can only do data, and has almost zero adaptability. The 2 came in through connections. I suspect they all have PhDs. I bought it with money. I have to repeat simple structural questions 3 times, but I still have no trouble. I feel that my family background is outstanding and I don't accept anyone else. They are all talents. Gu Zia felt very tired. If I were an old man, I would have done it long ago. Just open them all. End of this chapter. Shocking. She came back with a smaller version of the boss. Author, and knows. Chapter 420. Chapter 420. Happy birthday. To be able to enter the National Security Bureau, the foundation should not be that bad. If you use your own standards to measure it, no one will fail. Lu Ziwen reminded him, there are different heights in trees, and people are different. When you want to employ people, you can't just focus on their shortcomings, depends on his strengths. Ji Huan didn't say anything. It was rare for the third master to teach his son. It was quite rare. Zia was much happier than him. The third master would teach him step by step. He learned it by himself by staying with the third master. Gu Zia thought thoughtfully, you are very smart, is it my fault? Lu Ziwen. Ji Sun laughed, no, it's the third master's fault. You shouldn't have inherited such a high IQ. Don't give me credit for my father, my IQ is entirely due to my mother. Lu Ziwen and Ji Sun couldn't laugh or cry. After eating, Gu Zia went downstairs for a run with Lu Ziwen after half an hour's rest. Ji Sun did not disturb their family time. He was upstairs looking at data analysis. Jolie took Gu Ci to an outdoor Western restaurant. He was a superstar and had a lot of traffic, so he booked the table early. Outside the Western restaurant was the river running through the center of City A. The restaurant was specially decorated with flowers, balloons, and lights. It was beautifully decorated, with red rose petals forming a heart shape on the table and writing happy birthday. Gu Ci couldn't help laughing after seeing the romantic environment. This is done by the restaurant, it has nothing to do with me. Jolie was afraid that she would misunderstand, so he hurriedly explained, I just asked them to decorate it a little bit. However, he won his heart. I'm hungry. Jolie snapped his fingers and said, serve. The waiters filed in and served the appetizers. Gu Ci was really hungry and ate every drop. She was a standard worker. Gu Ci looked outside and saw rivers of lights interweaving with the warmth of the city. This location is also very coincidental, you can see the global building. Gu Ci withdrew his gaze and said with a smile, happy birthday, Jolie. I have already written the song I promised you as a gift, and you are the first listener. That's my honor, Jolie chuckled and took out the violin he had prepared. Medical students have a very heavy task. Every year, several people go crazy during the final exam. Several people in her dormitory cry for their parents and shout about their parents as soon as they take the final exam. The tears shed today are the result of the brain drain when they applied for the medical school. Gu Ci is still studying across grades, and her tasks are even more arduous. She has spent the past few years taking exams, treating mental illness, and training arranged by the Yakuza. She and Jolie agreed to make music together every month, but they often missed the appointment due to her homework, training, and illness. Jolie never complained or got angry, and always waited patiently for her. But in recent years, she has rarely touched the violin. Maybe it's a bit awkward, don't take it personally. Jolie chuckled, even if Xiaoxi's hand is born, he is still the best violinist and the most agile musician in my heart. 3 months before Jolie's birthday, he begged Gu Ci to compose a piece of music to celebrate his birthday. Gu Ci was working in the emergency room and was very busy, so he wrote the piece intermittently. As Jolie's birthday approached, he revised it twice more before he was satisfied. It is an original song inspired by Gusie's 5-year psychological healing process, so the tune is melancholy and dark at first. When she first started treatment, she experienced a period of dark decline, self-destruction, and self-denial. During that period, she was in a state of depression. Very bad. The middle part is lyrical and warm and healing. It is a process of self-repair during her treatment. The second half is the bustling bustle of the world. It has good penetration and appeal. There are twists and turns, and the overall tone is biased toward warmth. Cure. When Gusi plays the violin, it is also the time when she is most selfless. In just a few minutes of playing, it seems that she has recalled a whole 5 years, which is a process of her self-salvation. Jolie looked at Gusi in amazement while she was playing, and was impressed by the charm she displayed. Beautiful and agile women, beautiful and warm music, are all his cinnabar moles. After a song ended, Jolie clapped his hands and stood up. He looked at Gusi. Every year on his birthday, he would receive gifts from brands, partners, relatives, and friends. There were many kinds of gifts, but Gusi gave him this song. In his heart, he is even reluctant to show it to outsiders. This is a piece of music that belongs exclusively to him. Time is too short, there is no time to refine it, and there is no time to adjust the structure of the song, so it is embarrassing. Gusi is very modest and enjoys the healing of music. Apart from Guziu, music, in her opinion, heals her heart the most. I am willing to use many gorgeous words to describe the perfection of this piece of music. Regardless of taste or conception, this piece of music is very moving. I seem to see a girl trapped in the abyss, yearning for light and stars. She's struggling to climb from the abyss to the cliff, reaching out to touch the stars. It is warm, touching, and full of emotions. I really like it. Gusi was startled and then smiled. This is why she likes to be friends with Jolie. She has never said where the inspiration for the song came from, nor has she ever mentioned her mental illness, nor has she ever mentioned that she is undergoing treatment. Jolie had no way of knowing what kind of experience she had. But Jolie could understand the ideas and stories behind each of her songs. It is really a rare fate to know each other. It's for you, Gusi. Put down the violin. This piece of music sounds good because the sound of this violin is also good. This famous ukulele instrument has a very good sound and the music it plays is also touching. The music is good, and the piano is the icing on the cake. Jolie still felt regretful. Xiao Si didn't become a musician, which is really a loss to the music industry. I became a musician, which is a loss to the medical community, Gusi said jokingly. That's right, I'd rather be a doctor, saving lives and healing the wounded, Jolie said. It's very good to occasionally discuss music and art with ordinary people like us. Gusi took out her gift. In addition to the music, she also gave Jolie a pen as a gift. Jolie would always meet her fans when traveling. Whether it was the airport or a cooperation venue, she would always bring a pen with her to sign autographs. The gift is very practical. Happy birthday. Thank you, Xiaosai. Jolie took out a square box and said, I also have a gift for Xiaosai. Why did you give me a gift on my birthday? I am the spokesperson of High Jewelry in Asia. They launched a limited edition, so I shamelessly ordered a pair for you. The most indispensable thing for Gusi is jewelry. Because Zhang Minjiao loves jewelry and has collected a lot of jewelry. Although some of them were squandered by Gu Zhiwen, most of them ended up in Gusi's hands. However, she is not interested in jewelry and always carries Zhang Minjiao on her wrist. The jade bracelet given to her by King's Landing. Later, when I became an emergency room doctor, I basically stopped wearing jewelry, not even bracelets, necklaces, or watches. It's very beautiful. Gusi did not refuse his kindness. High Jewelry was invested by Black Eagle. There had been problems with the raw materials, and there was also a lawsuit with the UDA. Gu Xi had an impression. Ji Xian has been very good at marketing in recent years. Yes, and willing to spend money. High jewelry is particularly profitable and has captured the market share of international first-tier brands. End of this chapter.